I heard my wife sobbing at my funeral, not because she missed me, but because the insurance company found something. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This started 3 months earlier, on a Thursday morning that smelled like burnt coffee and lies. I was upstairs, folding laundry, her yoga pants, my work shirts, our son's tiny soccer uniform, when I heard Sarah's voice drifting up through the heating vent. She was on speakerphone with her sister Rachel, and what she said next changed everything. "I can't stand him anymore, Rach." Her voice was flat, emotionless, like she was reading a grocery list. Every morning, I watch him drink from that stupid world's best dad mug the kids gave him, and I can't. I fantasize about him just disappearing. My hands froze on a miniature shin guard. The washing machine hummed in the background, drowning out my heartbeat for a moment. Rachel's voice crackled through the speaker. "Sarah, you can't mean that. David's a good father. Good fathers provide more than teacher salaries, Rachel. Mark would never let his family live like this." Mark. That name hit me like cold water. Mark from her gym. Mark with the Tesla and the condo downtown. "Besides," Sarah continued, and I could hear her stirring something in the kitchen, probably her green smoothie. "The kids barely notice when he's gone anyway. Last week he worked late 3 nights, and Emma didn't even ask where Daddy was." That was a lie. Emma had called me all 3 nights to read her goodnight moon over FaceTime. But that wasn't even the worst thing she said. "I already talked to a lawyer?" Sarah's voice dropped lower, like she was sharing a secret. "If something happened to him, the life insurance would set us up for life. Both policies." "Both policies?" We only had one. Rachel's uncomfortable laugh echoed through the vent. "Sarah, you're joking, right?" "Am I?" The conversation shifted to Rachel's son's birthday party, but I stayed frozen, kneeling on the carpet, holding a size 3T soccer uniform that suddenly felt as heavy as lead. My wife, the woman I'd loved for 12 years, who I'd watched give birth to our children, who still left me little notes in my lunch, was planning something. Had been planning something for months. If you've ever felt invisible in your own home, like a ghost haunting your own life, you know this feeling. That moment when you realize you're not a husband anymore. You're an obstacle. I waited until Sarah left for her Thursday morning yoga class, the one she never missed, the one that ran exactly 90 minutes, before I went hunting for the truth. Her laptop was password protected, but she'd never changed it from our anniversary date. Romantic, right? The bank website autofilled her login. I clicked through to our accounts, the ones I thought I knew about. Checking, savings, Emma's college fund, little Jake's. There. An account I'd never seen. Joint account, both our names. Opened 6 months ago. $47,000. Withdrawn. My teacher's salary suddenly made sense of where it had been disappearing to. Every month, automatic transfers I'd never authorized. Small amounts at first. 200 here, 300 there, then growing. Last month, $2,800. The exact amount of my monthly take-home. The bank teller's face flashed in my memory from last week when I'd asked about our mortgage payment being late. That suspicious look she'd given me. "Sir, these withdrawals, they're all authorized by both account holders." Both account holders. Sarah had forged my signature. The dates. God, the dates matched something I'd never forget. I screenshot everything, every transaction, every transfer. The metadata would prove I'd never logged in before. Then I searched her email, hundreds of messages in a folder labeled Mom's Recipes. My mother-in-law had been dead for 3 years and had never cooked anything that didn't come from a box. Hotel confirmations, dinner reservations for 2 at restaurants I'd never heard of, credit card statements for a card in my name I didn't know existed, charges at lingerie stores, jewelry shops, weekend resorts. All while I was eating peanut butter sandwiches for lunch to save money for Emma's braces. My phone buzzed. "Sarah, Yoga ran over, getting coffee with the girls. Be home by noon. Love you. Love. The word tasted bitter now. I had 2 hours. The garage was my next stop. Sarah's car was gone, but behind the old paint cans and Christmas decorations, wedged between the wall and my toolbox, I found it. A phone. A second phone in a pink case I'd never seen before. It was charged. She'd been maintaining it, keeping it ready. The password was Mark's birthday. I knew because she'd mentioned it last month. How funny it was that her gym friend was exactly 6 months younger than me. The messages loaded immediately. 3 years. They went back 3 years. Before Jake was born. Before we'd moved to this house for the better school district. Before I'd taken a second job tutoring to pay for Sarah's car. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. Same room as always. Your real husband, M. That message was sent while I was at Jake's first soccer game last Saturday. She'd said she had a migraine. The photos made me sick. Not just because of what they showed, but when they were taken. Our anniversary weekend when she'd visited her sick cousin in Portland. The night of my father's funeral when she'd needed space to process. Emma's birthday party. There were timestamps showing she'd left our daughter's party to meet him. The last message was sent while I was coaching Jake's soccer practice. 3 more months, baby, then we can stop pretending. 3 months. Some kind of deadline. The insurance, the lawyer, 3 months. I sat on the garage floor, surrounded by the detritus of our fake life. Deflated soccer balls, Emma's old tricycle, the camping gear from trips we'd never take again, and I made a decision. She wanted me to disappear? Fine. But I'd do it on my terms. The plan formed quickly, crystallizing like ice. I couldn't just leave. That would give her everything she wanted. Abandonment, easy divorce, full custody. No, if I was going to disappear, it had to be perfect. It had to be a tragedy. It had to be something that would trigger investigations, questions, scrutiny she'd never expect. Sometimes the best revenge is letting someone get exactly what they wished for. That afternoon, I drove to 3 different hardware stores, paid cash, rope at one, camping supplies at another, a waterproof bag at the third. The clerk at the last store, an older man named Dennis with sad eyes, tried to make conversation. Planning a camping trip, something like that, I said, avoiding his gaze. He paused, studying my face. You okay, son? I will be. He'd remember me. That was important. Over the next 3 days, I prepared meticulously. I opened a new bank account at a credit union across town, in person, showing my ID, making sure the teller would remember the nervous man who kept checking his phone. I transferred small amounts from my personal checking, not the joint accounts, just the little teaching accounts Sarah never monitored. I wrote the note by hand, practiced it 12 times until it looked desperate enough, but not too desperate. Apologetic, but not specific. I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. Please forgive me. Tell the kids I love them more than words. Generic, the kind of thing they'd analyze later. I left 3 things behind on purpose. Thursday came again, another burnt coffee morning. Sarah was humming in the kitchen, scrolling her phone, occasionally giggling at something. Mark's messages, probably. Jake pushed his cereal around his bowl, making dinosaur noises. Emma was drawing, her tongue poking out in concentration like it always did. She was making a Father's Day card, even though it was 3 months away. Daddy, Emma looked up, her brown eyes, my eyes, serious. Do you like purple? I'm making your shirt purple. Purple's perfect, sweetheart. Sarah glanced up from her phone. David, don't forget you're picking up Jake from practice tonight. Of course. We both knew I never forgot. I kissed Emma's head, inhaling her strawberry shampoo smell one last time, ruffled Jake's hair as he roared like a T-Rex. Sarah offered her cheek for a kiss, already back to texting. Have a good day, she said automatically. You too. I picked up my work bag, heavier than usual with the cash I'd withdrawn, my passport, and 2 changes of clothes. My wedding ring sat in my pocket. I'd leave it on the bathroom counter later, along with my wallet and car keys. But first, I had one more stop. The bridge was empty at 5:47 a.m. I'd scouted it for weeks. Security cameras at both ends, but a blind spot in the middle where the maintenance walkway created a shadow. I parked my car at the north end, in full view of the camera, walked slowly toward the center, shoulders slumped, the picture of a desperate man. At the blind spot, I slipped down to the maintenance walkway, changed clothes quickly, stuffing my work outfit into the waterproof bag I'd toss in the river later, put on the baseball cap and sunglasses. From the south camera's angle, I'd look like a maintenance worker who'd been there all along. The suicide note was in my car, on the dashboard, held down by my wedding ring and the world's best dad mug Emma had made me in pottery class. She kissed me goodbye that morning. It would cost her everything. Sarah found out I was missing at 6:23 p.m. I know the exact time because I was watching from the parking lot of the motel across from Jake's soccer field. Borrowed binoculars trained on my family's destruction. She'd driven to practice in her BMW, the one I'd co-signed for, checking her phone at every red light. Mark had probably texted about dinner plans. Jake ran to her after practice, his little legs pumping, cleats clicking on the asphalt. I saw his face crumple when she said Daddy wasn't there to pick him up. Saw him look around the parking lot, searching for my beat-up Honda. Sarah's irritation was visible even from 200 yards away. The way she yanked open the car door, threw his soccer bag in the trunk. Her first call was to me. Straight to voicemail, I ditched the phone in the river. Second call, probably to the school, checking if I'd shown up for work. Third call. Her body language changed. She stood straighter, one hand over her mouth. The police. By 7:15, 2 squad cars were at our house. I'd moved positions by then, parked 3 streets over where Mrs. Chen walked her poodle every evening at 7:30. Right on schedule, she tottered past Sarah, talking to the officers on our front lawn, Emma clinging to her leg. Jake's face pressed against the living room window. "Please," Sarah's voice carried in the evening air. "Something's happened to him. He would never just leave. We were so happy. So happy." The same woman who'd fantasized about my disappearance 3 days ago? Officer Martinez? I recognized him from the school safety presentations, held up the note I'd left. "Ma'am, this was in his car, along with his wedding ring and this mug?" Sarah's knees buckled. Beautiful performance. Emma started crying, and that wasn't performance. That carved something out of my chest. No, he wouldn't. We have children. He loves our children. "The car was found at Riverside Bridge," the second officer said gently. But the security footage showed something else. What they saw, a man walking onto the bridge at 5:47 a.m., disappearing at the center where the cameras couldn't reach. What they didn't see, the maintenance worker who'd been there all along walking off the south end at 6:15 a.m. Sarah called Rachel immediately after the police left. I watched from my car as she paced the kitchen, visible through our uncurtained window. She'd always insisted we didn't need curtains. "We have nothing to hide," she'd said. "He's gone, Rachel. They think he jumped." A pause. "Of course I'm devastated. How can you even ask that?" Another pause. "The insurance? Jesus, Rachel. My husband just died, and you're asking about... I haven't even thought about it." But she had. 23 minutes later, she was on her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. The insurance company's website probably. Checking the policies. Both of them, the one I knew about, and the one she'd forged my signature on 6 months ago, doubling the payout to $1.2 million. Most wives wait at least a month to file claims. Sarah waited 72 hours. Harrison from Mutual Life Insurance had a very particular way of sitting. Slightly forward, notebook perpendicular to the desk edge, pen clicked exactly twice before writing. I know because I watched their meeting through the coffee shop window across from his office. Sarah wore black. Widow's weeds, my grandmother would have called them. Subtle makeup designed to look like she'd been crying. She'd actually done her nails the night before. I'd seen the UV lamp glowing in our bedroom window at midnight. Mrs. Davidson, Harrison's voice was professionally sympathetic but cautious. I understand this is a difficult time, but there are procedures we need to follow. Of course, the children need stability, the mortgage. Your husband increased this policy 6 months ago. Doubled it, actually. Sarah's hand fluttered to her throat. He did. We never discussed it. He also opened a second policy. Did you know about that? The hand tremor was real this time. Second policy? Through his employer, also substantial. Both policies together. Harrison clicked his pen twice. Mrs. Davidson, in cases of suicide, there's typically a contestability period. The police said they can't rule it suicide without a body. That's correct, which brings up another issue. Without a body, we typically need to wait 7 years to declare death. 7 years? Her voice cracked. Unless there's compelling evidence of death. The video footage is inconclusive. Sarah leaned forward. My husband is dead, Mr. Harrison. My children are asking when Daddy's coming home from heaven. Are you really going to make them wait 7 years for closure? Your husband increased this policy twice. That night, Sarah did something that surprised even me. She called my mother. I hadn't expected that. Couldn't watch it, but I heard about it later from Mom herself, when everything came out. Sarah sobbed on the phone for an hour, telling my mother how much she'd love me, how she blamed herself for not seeing the signs. I should have known Patricia. He'd been so quiet lately, working so much. I thought he was just tired, but maybe he was depressed. Maybe if I'd been a better wife. My mother, God bless her, was suspicious from the start. Sarah dear, David called me last week. He didn't sound depressed. He was excited about Emma's dance recital. People hide these things, Patricia. You know that. Do they also hide bank accounts from their wives? Silence. What bank accounts? The one he mentioned. For Emma's college. He said you didn't know about it yet. Wanted to surprise you. Sarah's recovery was quick. Oh, that. Yes, we discussed it. I just didn't know he'd opened it already. But Mom heard the lie, filed it away. Smart woman, my mother. The children's drawings started appearing on day 5. Emma brought them home from school, Mrs. Park, the counselor, sending them in sealed envelopes for Mommy. The first one destroyed me even though I'd expected it. Daddy as an angel, wings spread wide, floating above our house. Mommy and Jake and Emma standing in the yard, looking up. But there was another figure in the drawing, standing next to Mommy, a tall man in black. Who's that, sweetheart? Sarah asked at dinner. I know because Jake told me later. That's Mommy's friend who makes her happy. What friend? The one who comes when Daddy's at work. Sarah went very still. You've seen Mommy's friend? Emma nodded, coloring another picture. He brings you flowers. Pink ones. Daddy never brings pink ones. The second drawing was worse. Same angel Daddy. But now the man in black was inside the house, in Daddy's chair, wearing what looked like a watch on his wrist, circular, detailed, important enough for a 6-year-old to notice and draw. Emma had labeled it. Mommy's friend Mark sleeps in Daddy's bed now. Mrs. Park called Sarah that afternoon. I wasn't watching, but I got the transcript later, during the custody hearings. Mrs. Davidson, Emma's expressing some concerning things in her drawings. She's grieving, making up stories. She's quite specific. She says Mommy's friend has been visiting for a long time, that he makes you laugh the way Daddy used to. Children imagine things, Mrs. Park. They also see things adults think they don't notice. But Mark had already made his first mistake. He'd waited exactly 2 weeks before moving in, Mrs. Chen saw everything, documented everything. The elderly Chinese woman with her poodle and her smartphone taking videos for her garden blog. Nobody ever suspects the old lady with the dog. The moving truck arrived at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Not a full truck, just Mark's essentials. He was supposedly there to help with the kids, to support Sarah through this difficult time. But Mrs. Chen's video showed him carrying in suits, multiple garments bags, his gaming system, the kind of things you move when you're staying permanently. Such a shame, Mrs. Chen told her neighbor loud enough for the whole street to hear. That poor Mr. David, not even cold in his grave, and already another man parking in his driveway. The real violation came that evening. I'd switched positions again, watching from a friend's borrowed car. Mark walked into my house, wearing khakis and a polo shirt, but on his wrist, my father's watch. The Seiko he'd worn in Vietnam, that he'd given me before he died, that I kept in the bedroom safe. She'd given him my father's watch. Already. Jake saw it too. Told Emma later, who drew another picture. Daddy's angel crying, water drops falling from heaven onto a watch. He was wearing Grandpa's special watch, Jake told the school counselor. The one from the war. Daddy said I could have it when I'm bigger. Your husband's lawyer contacted us yesterday. It was day 18 when everything started unraveling. Sarah had been living her new life. Mark making breakfast for my children, using my coffee maker, sitting in my chair. She'd started posting on social media again. Healing is a journey, with sunset photos. The kids are so strong, with pictures of them at the park, Mark's hand visible at the edge of the frame. She went to the bank to access our joint accounts, planning to move money for the estate planning. The manager, Mr. Peterson, a tall man with kind eyes who had helped us get our first mortgage, looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Davidson, I'm afraid there's a hold on these accounts. A hold? What kind of hold? When someone is reported missing, not confirmed deceased, and there are questions, the accounts can be frozen pending investigation. Questions? What questions? Your husband's lawyer contacted us yesterday. Sarah's face went white. His lawyer? David didn't have a lawyer. Mr. Thompson from Thompson and Associates. He provided power of attorney documentation dated 2 weeks before your husband's disappearance. All perfectly legal. But he's dead. Presumed dead, ma'am. Very different legally. The people in line behind her were watching now. A small town. Everybody knew the story of the teacher who had jumped from the bridge, the grieving widow, the friend who'd moved in to help. How am I supposed to feed my children? Sarah's voice rose. The children's trust accounts remain accessible. Those are in their names. Trust accounts? The ones your husband established, didn't you know? She didn't know, because I'd set them up the day before I disappeared, moving everything from my personal teaching account. Not much, but enough to ensure my children would eat while their mother's world collapsed. But he's dead. Presumed dead, ma'am. Very different. Mark made his second mistake on day 21. He used my credit card, the one Sarah had reported as lost rather than mentioning I was dead. Technically fraud, but she figured the bank would write it off. He bought golf clubs, $900 golf clubs on a dead teacher's credit card while wearing that teacher's father's war watch. The transaction flagged immediately. The store called the credit card company. The credit card company called the police. The police called Sarah. Mrs. Davidson, we need to ask you about some suspicious activity on your husband's accounts. She came to the station with Mark. Another mistake. He sat in my husband's seat, the literal spouse's support chair next to the interview room. Officer Martinez noticed. Sir, that's typically reserved for family. I'm family, Mark said. I'm supporting Sarah through this. You're living at the residence? Temporarily. Mrs. Chen's video suggested otherwise. The detective had already seen them. She'd emailed them to the department, out of concern for the children. Sarah tried to explain the credit card charge. It must be a mistake. David's card was lost, but not reported stolen, just lost? Yes. And Mr. Fitzgerald, Mark supplied. Mr. Fitzgerald has been staying with you since when? 2 weeks ago, Sarah said. Actually, it was 16 days ago, Mark corrected, then realized his mistake. I mean, approximately. It's been a difficult time. Martinez made a note. 16 days, so precise for such a difficult time. The room was too warm. Sarah was sweating through her foundation. We're also curious about some insurance claims that have been filed. That's perfectly normal, Sarah said quickly. My husband is dead. Presumed dead, Martinez corrected. Without a body, it's only presumed. That's when the email arrived, not to Sarah, to the police. Check your mail. The package had been delivered that morning to the station, requiring signature. Inside, a USB drive labeled, "For Emma and Jake." Martinez plugged it in, turned the laptop towards Sarah. The first video was dated 3 years ago. Sarah and Mark at a hotel in Portland the weekend she was supposedly at her cousin's. The second, 6 months later. The third, fourth, fifth, dozens of them. Hotel security footage, restaurant cameras, even a few from Sarah's own car. The dash cam she didn't know recorded interior audio when parked. I can't wait until he's gone, Sarah's voice, clear as day from 6 months ago. Just be patient, baby, Mark's response. The insurance will set us up. Sometimes I think about making it happen sooner. Sarah, don't even joke about that. Who's joking? Martinez stopped the video. Sarah had gone gray under her makeup. Check your email. There's 12 more months, but there was one more video. The last one. Dated a week before my disappearance. Sarah and Mark in her car, parked outside Jake's daycare. After he's gone, we can finally be together, really together. And the kids? They'll adjust. Kids always do. They barely notice him anyway. And if he doesn't go through with it, you really think he's depressed enough? I've been working on him for months. The constant criticism, the coldness, making him feel worthless. He's already on the edge, just needs a little push. Metaphorically speaking. Of course, metaphorically. The timestamp showed 4:47 p.m. I'd picked up Jake at 5 more that day, right after she'd recorded this. He'd run to me, arms wide, shouting, "Daddy!" loud enough for the whole parking lot to hear. Barely noticed me. Martinez closed the laptop. Mrs. Davidson, we're going to need you to come back tomorrow with a lawyer, both of you. Sarah found the second package on her doorstep that evening, another USB, this one labeled, "Play Me Alone." She did after Mark had gone to shower in my bathroom, using my towels, my soap. It was audio only, my voice calm and measured. Hello, Sarah. By now you know I'm not dead. I'm not even missing. I'm watching. I've been watching since the morning you told Rachel you couldn't stand me anymore. Since you fantasized about my disappearance. You got your wish. I disappeared. But not the way you planned. The insurance money won't come. The bank accounts will stay frozen. Mark will leave when he realizes there's nothing to gain. And the children will know the truth. Not because I'll tell them, because you already did. Every time you met Mark while I was at their school events. Every time you lied about where you were going. Every time you kissed me goodbye, planning my end. Children see everything, Sarah. Emma's drawings prove that. I left 3 things behind on purpose. My ring. Because our marriage was already dead. My father's watch. Because you'd already given it away in your heart. And that stupid coffee mug. Because I wasn't the world's best dad. The world's best dad wouldn't have let his children live with a mother who could plan his murder over morning coffee. But I'm going to be better. I'm going to fight for them. And I'm going to win. Because here's what you never understood about me, Sarah. About teachers, about fathers who actually love their children. We don't leave, not really. Even when we disappear, we're still watching, still protecting, still teaching lessons. This is mine. Sometimes the best way to reveal a monster is to give it exactly what it thinks it wants. Your husband's lawyer will be in touch. The recording ended. Sarah sat in the dark kitchen, the laptop screen casting blue light on her face. Upstairs, Mark was singing in the shower. My shower. In the living room, Emma and Jake were watching cartoons, innocent and unaware that their world was about to shatter completely. She tried calling the number I'd called from. Disconnected. Tried calling Mark's phone. He didn't answer. He was busy using my shampoo. Tried calling her sister. Rachel answered on the first ring. Sarah? I've been waiting for your call. You knew? David sent me everything, 3 weeks of evidence. Did you really think I'd help you after what you did to Tom? Tom, Rachel's first husband, who'd had an accident 5 years ago. That was different. No, Sarah, it wasn't. The line went dead. Sarah sat alone in the dark, surrounded by the life she'd built on lies, in the house we'd chosen together, where our children slept upstairs, dreaming of their daddy in heaven. She'd wanted me to disappear. She got exactly what she wished for. The final package arrived on a Monday morning, 3 weeks after my disappearance. Mark had just left for work. He'd been using my car since Sarah's BMW had been repossessed. Turns out she'd been 3 months behind on payments, spending the money on hotel rooms instead. The postal worker required a signature. Sarah stood in the doorway in my old college sweatshirt. The one she'd always said was too ratty to keep, signing for her own destruction. Inside the padded envelope, another USB drive and a single sheet of paper. For the woman who wanted me gone, be careful what you wish for. She plugged it in immediately, the screen filled with video files, dozens of them, labeled by dates stretching back 3 years. The first video opened automatically, security footage from the Marriott downtown, date stamp from what she'd told me was her mother's funeral. There she was in the lobby, laughing, pulling Mark toward the elevator. My mother had been dead for 3 years by then, but I'd grieved alone while she celebrated. The second video. Restaurant footage from our anniversary dinner. Except she wasn't with me. She was with Mark, toasting with champagne I could never afford. I'd been home with the kids and a pizza, believing she was at a work emergency. Video after video. The timeline of betrayal laid out in surveillance footage. But it wasn't just hotels and restaurants. There was footage from our own garage, the security camera she didn't know I'd installed after the break-ins on our street. Her car's interior dash cam that she'd forgotten recorded audio when the engine was off. Once he's gone, we can sell this dump, her voice crystal clear, talking to Mark in our driveway. Move somewhere that doesn't smell like failure and chalk dust. Check your email. There's 12 more months. The email attachment was worse than the videos, screenshots of text she'd deleted, but that had been backed up to our cloud account. The affair went deeper than 3 years. It started before Jake was born, before we'd even decided to have another child. Getting pregnant was the best thing, one message read. He'll never leave now. Too noble, trapped by his own conscience. Another, I made sure to cry after. He actually apologized for not being enough. Can you believe it? The timestamp on that one matched the night Jake was conceived. The night she'd said she wanted to save our marriage, to reconnect. I'd thought we were rebuilding. She'd been building a prison. But there was one file at the bottom, labeled simply truth.pdf. Laboratory results. DNA test. Conducted 3 weeks before my disappearance when Jake had needed blood work for his allergies. I'd had the same test done, secretly through the same lab. The results were clinical, emotionless. Alleged father, David Richardson. Child, Jacob Richardson. Probability of paternity, 0.0%. 0%. Jake wasn't mine. The baby I'd walked with during colic nights. The boy I'd taught to ride a bike. The son who had my mother's eyes, except he didn't. He had Mark's eyes. I just never wanted to see it. Sarah's hands shook as she read the analysis that followed. The genetic markers, the blood type impossibility, the technical language that meant one simple thing. She'd been with Mark when Jake was conceived. The boy I'd raised for 4 years, loved from his first breath, wasn't my biological son. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. Sarah's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Sarah. My voice. She gasped, nearly dropping the phone. David, where are you? The children are at school, where they're safe, where Mrs. Park is documenting everything for the custody hearing. Custody? David, please, we can talk about this. We will talk. In court. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Your lawyer should have received the summons. I don't have a lawyer. You should get one. Mark won't help. He's about to be arrested for fraud. Those golf clubs he bought on a dead man's credit card, that's a felony. David, please. Jake needs... Don't. My voice was ice. Don't you dare use him as a weapon. Jake is my son in every way that matters, and you stole that from him. From both of us. He's not yours. Legally, no, but I'm on the birth certificate. I've been his father every single day of his life, and you're about to learn what that means in court. You can't just take them. Watch me. The line went dead. Sarah called Mark 17 times. He finally answered on the 18th. We have a problem, she said. No, Sarah, you have a problem. My lawyer says to cease all contact. Your lawyer? Since when do you have... Since the police showed up at my office with a warrant. Did you know David had been recording us for years? That's impossible. Check your car's dash cam settings. Check your cloud storage. Check the hidden camera in your garage. He knew Sarah. He's known for months. You said we were careful. We were sloppy. And now I'm facing fraud charges, my wife is filing for divorce, and my company is suspending me pending investigation. Your wife? Did you think I'd actually leave her? She has money, Sarah. Real money. Not teachers' insurance policies that would never pay out. You said you loved me. I loved what we had. But it's over. Don't contact me again. Your daughter isn't yours, Mr. Davidson. The courtroom was packed. Small town scandal at its finest. The teacher who faked his death. The cheating wife. The boyfriend. The children caught in between. Emma and Jake were in the judge's chambers with the child advocate, drawing pictures and eating goldfish crackers, blissfully unaware their future was being decided. Sarah entered with her court-appointed attorney, a young woman who looked like she had rather be anywhere else. Mark wasn't there. He'd been arrested that morning on fraud charges. His empty chair spoke volumes. Then the doors opened again. I walked in alive. Very much not dead. Wearing my only suit. The one Sarah had always said made me look like an accountant. My mother was with me, steel-haired and ramrod straight. Behind us, my lawyer, Thompson, carried 3 boxes of evidence. The gasp from the gallery was audible. Sarah went white, then red, then white again. Your Honor, Thompson began, my client is very much alive and petitioning for immediate emergency custody of his children based on parental fraud, endangerment, and attempted insurance fraud by Mrs. Davidson. Judge Harrison, no relation to the insurance investigator, was a grandmother of 7 who'd seen everything in 30 years on the bench, but even she looked surprised. Mr. Davidson, you were reported dead. Missing, Your Honor. I was reported missing. My wife was very eager to upgrade that to dead. You staged your own disappearance? I discovered my wife and her lover were planning to benefit from my death, Your Honor. I felt my life was in danger. I have evidence. Proceed. The next hour was methodical destruction. Video after video played on the courtroom screen. Sarah's voice planning my demise. Mark discussing insurance policies. The screenshots of texts. The financial records showing systematic theft. Mrs. Chen's neighborhood watch videos. The children's drawings, especially Emma's picture of Mommy's friend who makes her happy. Your Honor, Thompson said, We also have DNA evidence to present. Sarah's lawyer objected. Relevance? Mrs. Davidson has been conducting a 4-year fraud regarding the paternity of the younger child. This speaks to her credibility and fitness as a parent. I'll allow it. The DNA report appeared on screen. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. Despite this, I said, speaking for the first time, I am Jacob's father in every legal sense. My name is on the birth certificate. I've raised him from birth. I love him as my son because he is my son in every way that matters. But not biologically, Sarah's lawyer interjected. Biology doesn't make a father. Being there does. Every soccer game, every nightmare, every scraped knee and school play and bedtime story. That's what makes a father. Judge Harrison nodded slightly. However, Thompson continued, this DNA evidence is relevant to custody because it demonstrates a pattern of deception that endangers the children's emotional and psychological well-being. Objection, Sarah's lawyer stood. My client's past relationships are relevant when she's exposed the children to her affair partner, allowed him to move into the family home 2 weeks after their father's supposed death, and gave him family heirlooms, including a war veteran's watch that was meant for Jacob. The judge's eyes narrowed. She gave away a war memorial? My father's Vietnam service watch, Your Honor, meant for my son, now worn by the man who was secretly his biological father. I didn't abandon my family. I escaped a fraud. Sarah tried to speak then, standing despite her lawyer's attempts to stop her. Your Honor, David abandoned us. He left his children thinking he was dead. What kind of father does that? The kind who was being psychologically tortured into suicide, I replied calmly. Would you like to hear the recordings of you telling Mark how you were, quote, working on me for months, making me feel worthless? That was taken out of context. The context where you were planning to benefit from my life insurance, that context? Your Honor, Thompson intervened, we have one more witness. The child advocate would like to share something. Mrs. Park entered with a folder. Your Honor, I've been working with both children since Mr. Davidson's disappearance. Emma, the 6-year-old, has been very clear in her drawings and stories. She says, and I quote, Daddy never really left. He was watching over us like a guardian angel. I could feel him. She held up Emma's latest drawing. It showed our family, but Sarah was separated, standing apart, while Emma, Jake, and I stood together under a rainbow. She drew this yesterday when I told her she might see her daddy soon. She said, Daddy never really left. Real daddies don't leave. Tell them what you told me, sweetheart. The judge called a recess to speak with the children privately. 30 minutes that felt like 30 hours. Sarah sat rigid, staring at her hands. I thought about all the mornings I'd watch those hands make coffee, sign permission slips, braid Emma's hair. When had they become the hands of a stranger? When Judge Harrison returned, Emma and Jake were with her. They were supposed to wait in chambers, but Emma had insisted. She saw me and broke free, running across the courtroom. Daddy, I knew you'd come back. I knew you weren't really gone. She slammed into my legs, arms wrapping tight. Jake followed, more cautious, confused. Daddy, Mommy said you went to heaven. I had to go away for a little while, buddy, to make sure you'd be safe. Safe from what? I looked at Sarah. From anyone who might hurt us. Judge Harrison cleared her throat. I've made my decision. Given the evidence of fraud, deception, and emotional manipulation, I'm granting emergency temporary custody to Mr. Davidson. Mrs. Davidson will have supervised visitation pending a full psychological evaluation and parenting classes. No, Sarah stood. You can't take my children. I'm not taking them, Mrs. Davidson. I'm protecting them. Your husband may have used deception to reveal the truth, but you used deception to destroy a family. The court finds Mr. Davidson's actions, while unorthodox, were motivated by protecting his children. Your actions were motivated by greed. Tell them, Jake, Sarah pleaded. Tell them you want to stay with Mommy. Jake, my son, who wasn't my son, but was everything a son could be, looked at his mother with those eyes that weren't mine, but had learned their kindness from me. Mommy's friend Mark is mean. He threw away Daddy's things. He said I couldn't keep Grandpa's watch anymore. That's not... He said Daddy was weak, but Daddy's not weak. Daddy's smart. He knew you were being bad, didn't he? 4 years old, already seeing too much truth. Daddy never really left. He was watching over us. The next months were hard. Lawyers, therapy, explaining to children why families sometimes break apart. Mark pled guilty to fraud, got probation, and a fine. Sarah fought the custody decision, but every appeal made things worse as more evidence emerged. Turned out this wasn't her first rodeo. Her sister Rachel's husband Tom hadn't had an accident 5 years ago. He'd had help. The investigation was reopened, but we survived. We healed. The new house is smaller, but warmer. Emma's drawings cover the refrigerator. No more angels, just regular family pictures. Jake's in therapy to process everything, but he's laughing again. Really laughing. He still calls me Daddy. That's all that matters. Sarah gets her supervised visits every other Sunday. She brings gifts, tries to buy their love. Doesn't understand why it doesn't work. Last week she asked Emma if she missed living in the big house. No, Emma said simply. That house was full of lies. This house is full of love. 6 years old, already wiser than her mother. Today is Father's Day. Emma made me a new mug in art class. World's Strongest Dad, with a superhero cape drawn on it. Jake gave me a card he made himself, with a photo of us at his last soccer game taped inside. For my real dad, he'd written in crayon, the one who stayed. We don't talk about the DNA test. We don't talk about Mark being his biological father. Blood makes relatives. Love makes family. And Jake is my son in every way that counts. The way I taught him to tie his shoes. The way he holds his pencil like I do. The way he says, "I love you, Daddy," every night before bed. Sarah's parents came by yesterday. They hadn't spoken to her since the truth came out, but they wanted to see the grandchildren. Sarah's mom hugged me, crying. We always knew something was off, but David, what you did, I did what I had to do to protect them. You gave her exactly what she wished for. Sometimes that's the only way to show someone who they really are. The investigation into Tom's death is ongoing. Sarah might face charges. The insurance companies are suing her for attempted fraud. The house was foreclosed on. Mark's wife divorced him and took everything. The dominoes keep falling, but we're standing. Last night, I tucked Jake in and he asked, "Daddy, why did you pretend to go to heaven?" I wasn't pretending, buddy. Sometimes we have to disappear to help the people we love see clearly. But you came back. Real fathers always come back. We don't leave, not really. He thought about this, then nodded. Like in Emma's drawings, you were watching over us. Always, buddy. Always. Real fathers don't leave. They rise. The old coffee mug, that world's best dad mug, sits on a shelf now. Retired, but not forgotten. A reminder of the morning I heard my wife say she couldn't stand me. The morning that started everything. Next to it sits the new one. Emma's superhero creation. The one I use every morning. The coffee doesn't taste burnt anymore. If this story moved you, if you've ever had to fight for your children, or discovered that family isn't about blood, but about who shows up every day, share your story below. Sometimes the family we choose, or the family that chooses us, is stronger than any DNA test could measure. And remember, real love isn't about perfect marriages or biological connections. It's about who stays when staying is hard. It's about who fights when fighting seems impossible. It's about who loves when love has been betrayed. We don't leave. We rise.